stable, not so stable. Whatever you have on your table, we're able to fix it, mend it, talk it out, cry it out, and shout. Leave your worries me, girl, I'm trying to make it. I guess I am alright. Leave your money tight, my man ain't right out in the wind tonight. We came here to party, to smile, to get you me on for a while, to get you through.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Somerville Line and my segment. My name's Maribeth Swan with Just Curious, and tonight we're so excited to have with us Sarah Egan. Welcome to Just Curious in the Somerville Line, Sarah.
Thank you, Maribeth.
I'm so happy to have you here tonight with us. Sarah is an original painter, and we always like to start out with, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Gloucester to begin with, and then I moved to Connecticut.
Okay.
But I'm very influenced by the sea and the Massachusetts environment. So.
Okay, and where do you live now?
I live in Brookline, but my
Okay.
studio is in Cambridge.
In Cambridge.
Yeah.
I have had the pleasure of going to Sarah's studio, which is amazing and so full of a really exciting project we're going to talk about in a minute. Well, I was going to ask you, were there any artists in your family?
There wasn't any artists in my family, but everybody really loved painting, especially marinescapes and paintings of boats. And my grandmother's house was full of them, and I think that really influenced how it was sort of like being an artist was like this great thing.
Well,
So,
it is a great
well,
thing.
you know, I mean, like in our family, it was especially appreciated. So.
So do you remember when you first became inspired to paint?
Well, actually, I didn't really paint as a child. I actually started painting when I was 17. I always thought I was going to be a writer,
Okay.
but I took and I don't want to be pejorative, but I took it sort of an old lady class with a lot of old ladies, and I was like a 17-year-old, and we went with sort of a master painter, and we painted boats.
Okay.
And the instructor actually basically painted my painting for me, and I brought it home, and everybody was like, "Wow, you're a genius!" And that was the beginning of my career.
Okay. Were you
So it was a
frustrated
very-
with him that
it was
he
a-
painted the picture for you?
Oh, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I was like, "Wow, I can do that," you know, even though I didn't really do it. But
Okay.
but then I was hooked because I started learning about color and started looking at things, and I think that I was always very creative, and I could channel it right into that.
Okay.
So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And did you have a mentor as you were, in college and starting to be a more serious painter?
Well, I went to Hampshire College,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a great program the first year that I was there. I actually went to Hampshire, and then I went to the museum school.
Oh.
I really was a beginning student. I mean, literally, my first class, the teacher picked it out as like the worst drawing you'd ever seen. I really came from down here. So the good part about that was that I really had to work hard.
It's nothing like a motivator to be told you're the worst painter
Yeah, I
in the
mean,
room.
yeah, and I always and I actually now teach to college students, and I always say to them, I was the worst in the room. So it's all about, for me, it's always been about working really, really hard, and trying to figure out what people are trying to say and trying to do, and
And what's your inspiration?
yeah, and what's your inspiration? Yeah. Yeah.
So Sarah invited me to come to her studio to look at the panels for an installation piece she's doing. And I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about how you got involved with that. And we could maybe look at the first set of pictures that we have.
Okay.
Great.
So I work. I do a lot of things. As an artist, you always try to figure out how to make a living. And part of what I do is I work with a lot of commercial architects in Boston. And I have been working with this firm, Ad Inc., and they had asked me to do not actually picking the colors, but helping them with sort of understanding, if this brown, how could we make it a little bit more yellow? And so I did. This is UMass Lowell, and this is the outside of one of their dormitories. And they had already come up with the design, but then I went to the studio and tried to sort of, just adjusts the colors a little bit. So
Beautiful.
so it's kind of fun. And there's another photo of Albany Street where they actually did
Is this here?
this one right here, yeah, where it was just is the gray a little bit too gray or too silver? So they and I've done other projects with them as well that were more hands-on, but this is more about coming up with ideas about color.
Okay.
And
we all have to make a living, so.
and we all have to make a living.
So, and as
So-
we move on to the next set, that you were telling me were your first plaster paintings?
Yeah. So I do a lot of work with architects, and I do very large scale pieces. And when I do these pieces, I was using plaster, and I started coloring the plaster, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, I'm going to try to use it instead of paint and see what happens. And so
And this is what you're talking
yeah.
about, this process?
yeah, so this is plaster. And what's great about plaster is that it's very physical, and when you look at it, you really want to touch the painting and
Textured.
it's more textured, yeah. So
Are these pieces up somewhere right now?
these were bought by a bank.
Okay.
yeah.
So it is in a commercial
So-
space somewhere.
Yeah, it's in a commercial space. Well, it's a commercial bank, so it's in an office somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I love that one, the yellow and the blue. And the next set we have is Batchwords painting on wood.
Oh, painting on wood, yes.
Yeah, so
So
these
the-
third set of photos, if we could see those, please, would be great. Yes.
So this is a mural at Post 390.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And so the work on the right is actually 3 panels of my sort of panel collage paintings that I do. And here's a small one. And this relates to the project that you actually saw in the studio, where I'm actually in the Parcel 24 project. I'm using plaster, but I'm using it in the same style as I was with my panel paintings that sort of came before it, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
So let's talk a little bit about Parcel 24.
Okay.
This is a building that's at 1 Greenway in Chinatown.
Right.
And
Or it's in Chinatown, the Leather District, and the South End. So
And the
it's
South
really
End,
like
okay.
in the middle of those 3 neighborhoods. So you wouldn't say it's in Chinatown. It's sort of on the cornerstone of all
it's
3
like a
neighborhoods.
trifecta.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting that way.
And this is your first installation that's going to go up on the outside of a building.
Right. So it's my first exterior installation. There's tons of stuff around town that's interior, but this is the first
Interior.
exterior.
And maybe we could see this 4th set, because these are paintings that I saw recently in Sarah's studio. They are beautiful. The
So-
gold, the red, the orange.
Yeah, so the middle panel, the small panel, is the design for this mural that I'm doing, or this
Okay.
project that I'm doing. And the project is 40 feet by 8 feet. And when I was working with the architect and the developer, Ad Inc. and the New Boston Fund, we took this design and said, okay, how can we take this one small panel and blow it up 40 feet by 8 feet? So
And what was the solution to that?
well, it's a little challenging. So this is the beginning, and we basically took the design and instead of the design was originally meant to be 4 feet by 8 feet panels, and we kind of sort of split it up. So now there's 31 panels, and you can sort of see how I was working on them using stencils and.
More complex, but also more interesting visually.
Yes, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And
So-
in one of those photos, we could see that there are grooves in the side. So how are these paintings being affixed to the side of the building?
So the panels are all.
We can see
on-
them right there.
Yeah. So the panels are all on a cement board, and then there are C clamps screwed to the back of it. And so they take one part of the C clamp and screw it to the wall, and then they screw it to the back of the panel, and they just hang it on
And
top
hang
of
it.
Yeah.
And how are these paintings going to be protected from the weather?
They have marine varnish on them.
Oh,
and
okay.
this is the building that
At One Greenway?
Yes, at One Greenway, yeah. So
And where exactly on the building is the installation piece going up?
the installation piece is going to be on in the porte cochere. So it's basically when you drive sort of inside the building and down into the garage. It's exposed to the exterior, but it's also covered.
Well, that's nice that it's covered, so a little protection from the elements.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So what was the most fun and the most challenging about this project?
I think that I had an idea of how to do it, and then once I actually started to do it, the idea was just an idea, and I actually had to kind of stop and say, well, actually, how do I make this look beautiful versus just following these steps that I took. So I had made all these stencils using the computer and using I was doing all these different things, and I was kind of like not really looking as much as I could. And then finally I was like, whoa, that's not what I want. So I had to kind of step back and say, how do I make this the way I want to make it?
Reapproach it.
Yeah.
And so the process of manifesting this vision changes.
Yes,
as
it took a while.
The paintings are each finished.
Right, exactly. So I had to go over and over and over on the painting. So it's layer. One of the ways that you make something have texture is that you actually put layer and layer and layer on top of it and sand it and then glaze it, and so it's a real process. And you want just to be, you just want to do a panel and have it be done, but it doesn't work that way.
That's not what being an artist is about, is it?
No, it's not.
No. So, Sarah, where can we find more of your paintings and more information about your artwork?
So I have a website at sarahegan.com.
Okay.
So you can look there. I'm also having a show at the Walls Gallery, WALS Gallery.
Wonderful.
In Rosendale.
Is that coming up?
Yeah, September 19th it opens.
Okay, we'll have more information about that on our website.
Yeah, so those are two good places.
And you mentioned you're also a professor.
Oh, I teach at Merrimack College.
Okay.
So I teach starting tomorrow, drawing and 2D design.
And 2D design.
Yeah.
You're a busy lady.
I'm a little busy, yeah.
So after this installation project goes up, we already have the paintings for the show. What's the next thing for Sarah Egan?
Well, I just keep working, and what I really would like to do is there's a area in Charlestown called the Austin Street area where I really would like to do some kind of help with some kind of public art project. It's right where Bunker Hill Community College is and the subway, and it's just kind of like not a nice area. And I've been kind of working with the city of Boston for about 7 years, trying to get a go on it. So I'd really like to try to see something happen there.
So you're still waiting for approval?
It's owned by 7 or 8 different agencies.
Okay.
So it's just
bureaucracy.
It's just really tough to get any movement there. But I'm determined.
If you've been at it for 7 years, I'd say you're
well,
not giving up until you get what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of give up and then I revisit it and I drive by and think, oh, I got to do this. So that's my next thing that I'm going to try to do.
Wow. How long have you been teaching at Merrimack?
I've been teaching at Merrimack for about 3 years, and but I've been teaching. I'm an adjunct, so I taught at Wentworth Institute of Technology and
WIT, okay,
yeah, and Boston Architectural College, and several other places as well. So
you are a busy lady.
Yeah.
So Sarah, is there a question I should have asked you today that I didn't? Is there something you'd like to talk about?
Well, I think that one of the biggest things with young artists is that that they should, I work a lot with architects, and so I found this path of people who appreciate artwork through architects, and I think that. Sometimes when you graduate from school and you're an artist and you're like, oh my God, like how am I going to make a living? It's that there's lots of different paths and sort of not to give up and just try to, like there's all these competitions where they say, 10,000 artists apply to this competition. And
right.
I would say try to find something else so that you can actually work.
So
So,
broaden your horizons a little
Broaden
bit.
your horizons,
So you can
yeah.
do both things
so you can do both things,
because
yeah.
you've had such great success.
Well, I just, it's not that I've had such great success. It's more like I enjoy working, and I know that a lot of other artists kind of feel stuck because they don't have people they can work with. So that's what I would just
Well,
say.
thank you for giving them that tip.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful.
Just
So I really have appreciated having you here today. It's
thank
been a
you.
lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
so excited to have
Yeah.
you here, and I'm excited to go to your show, and I'm excited to go to One Greenway and see this installation piece. She thinks it's going up next week. Things are never, point on to when they're getting installed, but sometime next week.
Uh-huh.
And I will let you know, everybody, on Facebook or on Instagram, what's going on, when we can see it. And we've really loved having you here today, live interview. Please stay tuned, everyone, because coming up next is a recorded interview that I did a little while ago with two really interesting fellows. One is a medium, and he's a professor at Bunker Hill Community College, Lloyd Sheldon Johnson, and also Herb Pierce, who is an intuitive and a counselor as well. And that's a really cool interview that's coming up. I don't know if you've heard of either of those guys, but
Oh, it
if
sounds
you
interesting. Yeah.
you should stick around
Yeah,
and,
I'd love to.
check it out. But we really want to thank you again for being here with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
And your work at your show will be available for sale?
Yes.
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 So we'll have an opportunity to acquire a piece of Sarah Egan. That's SARAEGAN.com for more information about Sarah. And we will be seeing you really soon here on the Somerville Line and on Just Curious. And we will be talking to you soon. Thanks so much for being here. Okay.
Greetings and welcome to the Beautiful Me Club, where you can have yourself a ball, where you can find a lot of love. If you're stable, not so stable, whatever you have on your table, we're able to fix it, mend it, talk it out, cry it out, and shout. Leave your woes me, girl, I'm trying to make it. I guess I am alright. Leave your money tight, my man ain't right out in the wind tonight. We came here to party, to smile, to get your me on for a while, to get your groove back, honey child. So get your cute on, let's get wild. And beautiful me baby, that's what I call myself. I lay my attitude on the shelf. It's about me and no one else, but beautiful you baby. I'm talking dollars and not cents. It's not arrogance but confidence. So pick your head up and come on in. There's no drama, I'm saying, and no haters up in this spot. You treated like the queen that you are. Here you walk the red carpet like a superstar. And beautiful you baby, and beautiful me too. I tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna party like tonight is through. Beautiful you, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, yeah, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, beautiful you.